Section 1 of Sonnets by Edna St. Vincent Millay. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Thomas Copeland. 5 Sonnets from A Few Figs from Thistles, 1921. 1. Love, though for this you riddle me with darts, and drag me at your chariot till I die, O heavy prince, O panderer of hearts, yet hear me tell you how in their throats they lie who shout you mighty. Thick about my hair, day in, day out, your ominous arrows purr, who still am free, unto no querulous care a fool, and in no temple worshipper. I that have bared me to your quiver's fire, lifted my face into his puny reign, do wreathe you, impotent to evoke desire, as you are powerless to elicit pain. Now will a God for blasphemy so brave punish me surely with the shaft I crave. 2. I think I should have loved you presently, and given in earnest words I flung in jest, and lifted honest eyes for you to see, and caught your hand against my cheek and breast, and all my pretty follies flung aside that won you to me, and beneath your gaze, naked of reticence and shorn of pride, spread like a chart my little wicked ways. I, that had been to you, had you remained but one more waking from a recurrent dream, cherish no less the certain stakes I gained, and walk your memory's halls austere, supreme, a ghost in marble of a girl you knew, who would have loved you in a day or two. 3. Oh, think not I am faithful to a vow. Faithless am I, save to love self alone. Were you not lovely, I would leave you now. After the feet of beauty fly my own. Were you not still my hunger's rarest food, and water ever to my wildest thirst, I would desert you, think not what I would, and seek another as I sought you first. But you are mobile as the veering air, and all your charms more changeful than the tide. Wherefore to be inconstant is no care. I have but to continue at your side. So wanton, light, and false, my lover, you, I most faithless when I most am true. 4. I shall forget you presently, my dear. So make the most of this your little day, your little month, your little half a year, ere I forget, or die, or move away, and we are done for ever. By and by I shall forget you, as I said, but now, if you entreat me with your loveliest lie, I will protest you with my favourite vow. I would, indeed, that love were longer-lived, and oaths were not so brittle as they are. But so it is, and nature has contrived to struggle on without a break thus far. Whether or not we find what we are seeking is idle, biologically speaking. End of section 1 of Poems by Edna St. Vincent Millay. Section 2 of Sonnets by Edna St. Vincent Millay. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Thomas Copeland. Sonnets from 2nd April, 1923. 1. We talk of taxes, and I call you friend. Well, such you are, but well enough we know how thick about us root, how rankly grow, those subtle weeds no man has need to tend, that flourish through neglect, and soon must send perfume too sweet upon us, and overthrow our steady senses. How such matters go we are aware, and how such matters end. Yet shall be told no meagre passion here. With lovers such as we, for evermore Isolde drinks the draught, and Guinevere receives the table's ruin through her door. Francesca, with the loud surf at her ear, lets fall the coloured book upon the floor. 2. Into the golden vessel of great song let us pour all our passion. Breast to breast let other lovers lie, in love and rest, not we, articulate so, but with the tongue of all the world, the churning blood, the long shuddering quiet, the desperate hot palms pressed sharply together upon the escaping guest, the common soul unguarded and grown strong. Longing alone is singer to the lute. Let still on nettles in the open sigh the minstrel, that in slumber is as mute as any man, and love be far and high, that else forsakes the topmost branch, a fruit found on the ground by every passer-by. 3. Not with libations, but with shouts and laughter, we drenched the altars of love's sacred grove, shaking to earth green fruits, impatient after the launching of the coloured mouths of love. Love's proper myrtle and his mother's zone we bound about our irreligious brows, and fettered him with garlands of our own, and spread a banquet in his frugal house. Not yet the god has spoken, but I fear, though we should break our bodies in his flame and pour our blood upon his altar, here henceforward is a grove without a name, a pasture to the shaggy goats of Pan, whence flee forever a woman and a man. 4. Only until this cigarette is ended, a little moment at the end of all, while on the floor the quiet ashes fall, and in the firelight, to a lance extended, bizarrely with the jazzing music blended, the broken shadow dances on the wall, I will permit my memory to recall the vision of you, by all my dreams attended. And then, adieu, farewell, the dream is done. Yours is a face of which I can forget the colour and the features, every one, the words, not ever, and the smiles, not yet. But in your day, this moment is the sun upon a hill, after the sun has set. 5. Once more into my arid days, like dew, like wind from an oasis, or the sound of cold, sweet water bubbling underground, a treacherous messenger, the thought of you comes to destroy me. Once more I renew firm faith in your abundance, whom I found long since to be but just one other mound of sand, whereon no green thing ever grew. And once again, and wiser in no wise, I chase your coloured phantom on the air, and sob and curse and fall and weep and rise, and stumble pitifully on, to where, miserable and lost, with stinging eyes, once more I clasp, and there is nothing there. 6. No rose that in a garden ever grew, in Homer's or in Omar's or in mine, though buried under centuries of fine dead dust of roses, shut from sun and dew forever, and forever lost from view, but must again in fragrance rich as wine the grey isles of the air incarnadine, when the old summers surge into a new. Thus, when I swear I love with all my heart, 'tis with the heart of Lilith that I swear, 'tis with the love of Lesbia and Lucrece. And thus as well, my love must lose some part of what it is, had Helen been less fair, or perished young, or stayed at home in Greece. 7. When I too long have looked upon your face, wherein, for me, a brightness unobscured save by the mists of brightness has its place, and a terrible beauty not to be endured. I turn away reluctant from your light, and stand irresolute, a mind undone, a silly, dazzled thing deprived of sight from having looked too long upon the sun. Then is my daily life a narrow room, in which a little while uncertainly, surrounded by impenetrable gloom, among familiar things grown strange to me, making my way, I pause and feel and hark, till I become accustomed to the dark. 8. And you as well must die, beloved dust, and all your beauty stand you in no stead. This flawless vital hand, this perfect head, this body of flame and steel, before the gust of death or under his autumnal frost, shall be as any leaf, be no less dead than the first leaf that fell. This wonder fled, altered, estranged, disintegrated, lost. Nor shall my love avail you in that hour. In spite of all my love, you will arise upon that day, and wander down the air obscurely as the unattended flower, it mattering not how beautiful you were, or how beloved above all else that dies. 9. Let you not say of me, when I am old, in pretty worship of my withered hands, forgetting who I am, and how the sands of such a life as mine run red and gold, even to the ultimate sifting dust, behold, here walketh passionless age. For there expands a curious superstition in these lands, and by its leave some weightless tales are told. In me no Lenten wicks watch out the night. I am the booth where folly holds her fair, impious no less in ruin than in strength, when I lie crumbled to the earth at length. Let you not say, upon this reverend sight the righteous groaned and beat their breasts in prayer. 10. O my beloved, have you thought of this, how in the years to come unscrupulous time, more cruel than death, will tear you from my kiss and make you old, and leave me in my prime? How you and I, who scale together yet a little while the sweet immortal height no pilgrim may remember or forget, as sure as the world turns, some granite night shall lie awake and know the gracious flame gone out for ever on the mutual stone, and call to mind that on the day you came I was a child, and you a hero grown, and the night pass, and the strange morning break upon our anguish for each other's sake. 11. As to some lovely temple, tenantless long since, that once was sweet with shivering brass, knowing well its altars ruined, and the grass grown up between the stones, yet from excessive grief hard driven, or great loneliness, the worshipper returns, and those who pass marvel him, crying on a name that was. So is it now with me in my distress. Your body was a temple to delight. Cold are its ashes whence the breath is fled. Yet here one time your spirit was wont to move. Here might I hope to find you day or night. And here I come to look for you, my love, even now, foolishly, knowing you are dead. 12. Cherish you then the hope I shall forget at length my Lord Pieria? Put away for your so passing sake this mouth of clay, these mortal bones against my body set, for all the puny fever and frail sweat of human love? Renounce for these, I say, the singing mountain's memory, and betray the silent lyre that hangs upon me yet? But indeed some day shall you awake rather from dreams of me, that at your side so many nights, a lover and a bride, but stern in my soul's chastity have lain, to walk the world for ever for my sake, and in each chamber find me gone again. End of section 2. Section 3 of Sonnets by Edna St. Vincent Millay. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Thomas Copeland. 1. When you that at this moment are to me dearer than words on paper shall depart, and be no more the warder of my heart, whereof again myself shall hold the key, and be no more what now you seem to be, the sun, from which all excellences start in a round nimbus, nor a broken dart of moonlight even, splintered on the sea, I shall remember only of this hour, and weep somewhat, as now you see me weep, the pathos of your love, that, like a flower fearful of death, yet amorous of sleep, droops for a moment, and beholds, dismayed, the wind whereon its petals shall be laid. 2. That love at length should find me out, and bring this fierce and trivial brow into the dust, is, after all, I must confess, but just. There is a subtle beauty in this thing, a wry perfection. Wherefore now let's sing all voices, how into my throat is thrust, unwelcome as death's own, love's bitter crust. All criers proclaim it, and all steeples ring. This being done, there let the matter rest. What more remains is neither here nor there. That you requite me not is plain to see. Myself your slave, herein have I confessed. Thus far indeed the world may mock at me, but if I suffer, it is my own affair. 3. Love is not blind. I see with single eye your ugliness and other women's grace. I know the imperfection of your face, the eyes too wide apart, the brow too high for beauty. Learned from earliest youth am I in loveliness, and cannot so erase its letters from my mind that I may trace you faultless. I must love until I die. More subtle is the sovereignty of love. So am I caught that when I say not fair, 'tis but as if I said not here, not there, not risen, not writing letters. Well I know what is this beauty men are babbling of. I wonder only why they prize it so. 4. I know I am but summer to your heart, and not the full 4 seasons of the year, and you must welcome from another part such noble moods as are not mine, my dear. No gracious weight of golden fruits to sell have I, nor any wise and wintry thing, and I have loved you all too long and well to carry still the high sweet breast of spring. Wherefore I say, O love, as summer goes, I must be gone, steal forth with silent drums, that you may hail anew the bird and rose when I come back to you as summer comes. Else will you seek at some not distant time even your summer in another clime. 5. I pray you, if you love me, bear my joy a little while, or let me weep your tears. I too have seen the quavering fate destroy your destiny's bright spinning, the dull shears meeting not neatly, chewing at the thread. Nor can you well be less aware how fine, how staunch as wire, and how unwarranted endures the golden fortune that is mine. I pray you, for this day at least, my dear, fare by my side that journey in the sun. Else must I turn me from the blossoming year, and walk in grief the way that you have gone. Let us go forth together to the spring. Love must be this, if it be anything. 6. Pity me not because the light of day at close of day no longer walks the sky. Pity me not for beauties passed away from field and thicket as the year goes by. Pity me not the waning of the moon, nor that the ebbing tide goes out to sea, nor that a man's desire is hushed so soon, and you no longer look with love on me. This have I known always. Love is no more than the wide blossom which the wind assails, than the great tide that treads the shifting shore, strewing fresh wreckage gathered in the gales. Pity me that the heart is slow to learn what the swift mind beholds at every turn. 7. Sometimes, when I am wearied suddenly of all the things that are the outward you, and my gaze wanders, ere your tale is through, to webs of my own weaving, or I see abstractedly your hands about your knee, and wonder why I love you as I do, then I recall, yet sorrow thus he drew. Then I consider, pride thus painted he. O friend, forget not, when you fain would note in me a beauty that was never mine, how first you knew me in a book I wrote, how first you loved me for a written line. So are we bound, till broken is the throat of song, and art no more leads out the nine. 8. Oh, you will be sorry for that word. Give back my book, and take my kiss instead. Was it my enemy or my friend I heard? What a big book for such a little head! Come, I will show you now my newest hat, and you may watch me purse my mouth and prink. Oh, I shall love you still in all of that. I never again shall tell you what I think. I shall be sweet and crafty, soft and sly. You will not catch me reading any more. I shall be called a wife to pattern by, and some day, when you knock and push the door, some sane day, not too bright and not too stormy, I shall be gone, and you may whistle for me. 9. Here is a wound that never will heal, I know, being wrought not of a dearness and a death, but of a love turned ashes, and the breath gone out of beauty. Never again will grow the grass on that scarred acre, though I sow young seed there yearly, and the sky bequeath its friendly weathers down. Far underneath shall be such bitterness of an old woe. That April should be shattered by a gust, that August should be levelled by a rain, I can endure, and that the lifted dust of man should settle to the earth again. But that a dream can die will be a thrust between my ribs forever of hot pain. 10. I shall go back again to the bleak shore, and build a little shanty on the sand, in such a way that the extremest band of brittle seaweed will escape my door but by a yard or two, and never more shall I return to take you by the hand. I shall be gone to what I understand, and happier than I ever was before. The love that stood a moment in your eyes, the words that lay a moment on your tongue, are one with all that in a moment dies, a little undersaid and oversung. But I shall find the sullen rocks and skies unchanged from what they were when I was young. 11. Say what you will, and scratch my heart to find the roots of last year's roses in my breast. I am as surely riper in my mind as if the fruit stood in the stalls confessed. Laugh at the unshed leaf. Say what you will. Call me in all things what I was before, a flutterer in the wind, a woman still. I tell you I am what I was, and more. My branches weigh me down, frost cleans the air, my sky is black with small birds bearing south. Say what you will, confuse me with fine care, put by my word as but an April truth. Autumn is no less on me that a rose hugs the brown bough and sighs before it goes. 12. What's this of death from you who never will die? Think you the wrist that fashioned you in clay, the thumb that set the hollow just that way in your full throat, and lidded the long eye so roundly from the forehead, will let lie, broken, forgotten, under foot some day your unimpeachable body, and so slay the work he most had been remembered by? I tell you this, whatever of dust to dust goes down, whatever of ashes may return to its essential self in its own season, loveliness such as yours will not be lost, but, cast in bronze upon his very urn, make known him master, and for what good reason? 13. I see so clearly now my similar years repeat each other, shod in rusty black, like one hack following another hack in meaningless procession, dry of tears, driven empty, lest the noses, sharp as shears of gutter urchins at a hearse's back, should sniff a man died friendless, and attack with silly scorn his deaf triumphant ears. I see so clearly how my life must run 1 year behind another year, until at length these bones that leap into the sun are lowered into the gravel and lie still. I would at times the funeral were done, and I abandoned on the ultimate hill. 14. Your face is like a chamber where a king dies of his wounds, untended and alone, stifling with courteous gesture the crude moan that speaks too loud of mortal perishing. Rising on elbow in the dark to sing some rhyme now out of season, but well known in days when banners in his face were blown, and every woman had a rose to fling. I know that through your eyes which look on me, who stand regarding you with pitiful breath, you see beyond the moment's pause. You see the sunny sky, the skimming bird beneath, and, fronting on your windows hopelessly, black in the noon, the broad estates of death. 15. The light comes back with Columbine. She brings a touch of this, a little touch of that, colored confetti and a favor hat, patches and powders, dolls that work by strings, and moons that work by switches, all the things that please a sick man's fancy, and a flat, spry, convalescent kiss, and a small pat upon the pillow. Paper offerings. The light goes out with her, the shadows sprawl. Where she has left her fragrance like a shawl, I lie alone and pluck the counterpane, or on a dizzy elbow rise and hark, and down like dominoes along the dark her little silly laughter spills again. 16. Lord Archer, Death, whom sent you in your stead? What faltering prentice fumbled at your bow, that now should wander with the ensanguined dead, in whom for ever the bright blood must flow? Or is it rather that impairing time renders yourself so random or so dim? Or are you sick of shadows, and would climb a while to light, a while detaining him? For no, this was no mortal youth to be of you confounded, but a heavenly guest, assuming earthly garb for love of me, and hell's demure attire for love of jest. Bringing me asphodel and a dark feather, he will return, and we shall laugh together. 17. Loving you less than life, a little less than bitter-sweet upon a broken wall, or brushwood smoke in autumn, I confess I cannot swear I love you not at all. For there is that about you in this light, a yellow darkness, sinister of rain, which sturdily recalls my stubborn sight to dwell on you, and dwell on you again. And I am made aware of many a week I shall consume, remembering in what way your brown hair grows about your brow and cheek, and what divine absurdities you say, till all the world, and I, and surely you, will know I love you, whether or not I do. 18. I, being born a woman, and distressed by all the needs and notions of my kind, am urged by your propinquity to find your person fair, and feel a certain zest to bear your body's weight upon my breast. So subtly is the fume of life designed to clarify the pulse and cloud the mind, and leave me once again undone, possessed. Think not for this, however, the poor treason of my stout blood against my staggering brain. I shall remember you with love, or season my scorn with pity. Let me make it plain. I find this frenzy insufficient reason for conversation when we meet again. 19. What lips my lips have kissed, and where and why, I have forgotten, and what arms have lain under my head till morning. But the rain is full of ghosts to-night, that tap and sigh upon the glass, and listen for reply. And in my heart there stirs a quiet pain for unremembered lads, that not again will turn to me at midnight with a cry. Thus in the winter stands the lonely tree, nor knows what birds have vanished one by one, yet knows its boughs more silent than before. I cannot say what loves have come and gone. I only know that summer sang in me a little while, that in me sings no more. 20. Still will I harvest beauty where it grows, in coloured fungus and the spotted fog surprised on foods forgotten, in ditch and bog filled brilliant with irregular rainbows of rust and oil, where half a city throws its empty tins, and in some spongy log whence headlong leaps the oozy emerald frog, and a black pupil in the green scum shows. Her, the inhabitor of divers places, surmising at all doors, I push them all. O you that, fearful of a creaking hinge, turn back for evermore with craven faces, I tell you beauty bears an ultra fringe unguessed of you upon her gossamer shawl. 21. How healthily their feet upon the floor strike down! These are no spirits, but a band of children, surely, leaping hand in hand into the air in groups of 3 and 4, wearing their silken rags as if they wore leaves only and light grasses, or a strand of black elusive seaweed oozing sand, and running hard as if along a shore. I know how lost for ever, and at length how still these lovely tossing limbs shall lie, and the bright laughter and the panting breath. And yet before such beauty and such strength, once more, as always when the dance is high, I am rebuked that I believe in death. 22. Euclid alone has looked on beauty bare. Let all who prate of beauty hold their peace, and lay them prone upon the earth, and cease to ponder on themselves, the while they stare at nothing, intricately drawn nowhere, in shapes of shifting lineage. Let geese gabble and hiss, but heroes seek release from dusty bondage into luminous air. O blinding hour, O holy terrible day, when first the shaft into his vision shone, of light anatomized. Euclid alone has looked on beauty bare. Fortunate they who, though once only, and then but far away, have heard her massive sandals set on stone. Immediately following are Sonnets from an Ungrafted Tree. 1. So she came back into his house again, and watched beside his bed until he died, loving him not at all. The winter rain splashed in the painted butter-tub outside, where once her red geraniums had stood, where still their rotted stalks were to be seen. The thin logs snapped, and she went out for wood, bareheaded, running the few steps between the house and shed. There, from the sodden eaves blown back and forth on ragged ends of twine, saw the dejected creeping ginny vine. And one, big-aproned, blithe, with stiff blue sleeves rolled to the shoulder that warm day in spring, who planted seeds, musing ahead to their far blossoming. 2. The last white sawdust on the floor was grown grey as the first, so long he had been ill. The axe was nodding in the block. Fresh blown and foreign came the rain across the sill, but on the roof so steadily it drummed, she could not think a time it might not be. In hazy summer, when the hot air hummed with mowing and locusts rising raspingly, when that small bird with iridescent wings and long, incredible, sudden silver tongue had just flashed, and yet maybe not, among the dwarf nasturtiums, when no sagging springs of shower were in the whole bright sky, somehow upon this roof the rain would drum as it was drumming now. 3. She filled her arms with wood, and set her chin forward to hold the highest stick in place, no less afraid than she had always been of spiders up her arms and on her face, but too impatient for a careful search, or a less heavy loading, from the heap selecting hastily small sticks of birch for their curled bark, that instantly will leap into a blaze, nor thinking to return some day, distracted as of old, to find smooth, heavy, round, green logs, with a wet grey rind only, and knotty chunks that will not burn. That day when dust is on the wood-box floor, and some old catalogue, and a brown, shriveled apple core. 4. The white bark writhed and sputtered like a fish upon the coals, exuding odorous smoke. She knelt and blew in a surging, desolate wish for comfort, and the sleeping ashes woke and scattered to the hearth, but no thin fire broke suddenly. The wood was wet with rain. Then, softly stepping forth from her desire, being mindful of like passion hurled in vain upon a similar task in other days, she thrust her breath against the stubborn coal, bringing to bear upon its hilt the whole of her still body. There sprang a little blaze, a pack of hounds, the flames swept up the flue, and the blue night stood flattened against the window, staring through. 5. A wagon stopped before the house. She heard the heavy oilskins of the grocer's man slapping against his legs. Of a sudden whirled her heart like a frightened partridge, and she ran and slid the bolt, leaving his entrance free. Then in the cellarway, till he was gone, hid, breathless, praying that he might not see the chair sway she had laid her hand upon in passing. Sour and damp from that dark vault arose to her the well-remembered chill. She saw the narrow wooden stairway still plunging into the earth, and the thin salt crusting the crocks, until she knew him far, so stood, with listening eyes, upon the empty doughnut jar. 6. Then cautiously she pushed the cellar door and stepped into the kitchen, saw the track of muddy rubber boots across the floor, the many paper parcels in a stack upon the dresser, with accustomed care removed the twine and put the wrappings by, folded, and the bags flat, that with an air of ease had been whipped open skilfully to the gape of children. Treacherously dear and simple was the dull, familiar task, and so it was she came at length to ask, how came the soda there, the sugar here? Then the dream broke. Silent, she brought the mop, and forced the trade slip on the nail that held his razor strop. 7. One way there was of muting in the mind a little while the ever-clamorous care, and there was rapture, of a decent kind, in making mean and ugly objects fair. Soft-sooted kettle-bottoms that had been time after time set in above the fire, faucets and candlesticks corroded green, to mine again from quarry, to attire the shelves in paper petticoats, and tack new oilcloth in the ringed and rotten's place, polish the stove till you could see your face, and after nightfall rear an aching back in a changed kitchen, bright as a new pin, an advertisement, far too fine to cook a supper in. 8. She let them leave their jellies at the door and go away, reluctant, down the walk. She heard them talking as they passed before the blind, but could not quite make out their talk for noise in the room, the sudden heavy fall and roll of a charred log, and the roused shower of snapping sparks. Then sharply from the wall the unforgivable crowing of the hour. One instant set ajar, her quiet ear was stormed and forced by the full rout of day, the rasp of a saw, the fussy cluck and bray of hens, the wheeze of a pump she needs must hear. She inescapably must endure to feel across her teeth the grinding of a backing wagon wheel. 9. Not over-kind, nor over-quick in study, nor skilled in sports, nor beautiful was he, who had come into her life when anybody would have been welcome, so in need was she. They had become acquainted in this way. He flashed a mirror in her eyes at school, by which he was distinguished. From that day they went about together, as a rule. She told in secret and with whispering how he had flashed a mirror in her eyes, and as she told it struck her with surprise that this was not so wonderful a thing. But what's the odds? It's pretty nice to know you've got a friend to keep you company everywhere you go. 10. She had forgotten how the August night was level as a lake beneath the moon, in which she swam a little, losing sight of shore, and how the boy that was at noon simple enough, not different from the rest, wore now a pleasant mystery as he went, which seemed to her an honest enough test whether she loved him, and she was content. So loud the million crickets choir, so sweet the night, so long drawn out and late. And if the man were not her spirit's mate, why was her body sluggish with desire? Stark on the open field the moonlight fell, but the oak tree's shadow was deep and black, and secret as a well. 11. It came into her mind, seeing how the snow was gone and the brown grass exposed again, and clothespins and an apron, long ago in some white storm that sifted through the pane and sent her forth reluctantly at last to gather in, before the line gave way, garments, board stiff, that galloped on the blast, clashing like angel armies in a fray, an apron, long ago in such a night blown down and buried in the deepening drift, to lie till April thought it back to sight, forgotten, quaint, and novel as a gift. It struck her, as she pulled and pried and tore, that here was spring, and the whole year to be lived through once more. 12. Tenderly in those times, as though she fed an ailing child, with sturdy propping up of its small feverish body in the bed, and steadying of its hands about the cup, she gave her husband of her body's strength, thinking of men what helpless things they were, until he turned and fell asleep at length, and stealthily stirred the night, and spoke to her. Familiar at such moments, like a friend, whistled far off the long mysterious train, and she could see in her mind's vision plain the magic world, where cities stood on end, remote from where she lay, and yet between, save for something asleep beside her, only the window screen. 13. From the wan dream that was her waking day, wherein she journeyed, borne along the ground without her own volition in some way, or fleeing motionless with feet fast bound, or running silent through a silent house, sharply remembered from an earlier dream, upstairs, down other stairs, fearful to rouse, regarding him, the wide and empty scream of a strange sleeper on a malignant bed, and all the time not certain if it were herself so doing, or some one like to her. From this wan dream that was her daily bread, sometimes at night, incredulous, she would wake, a child, blowing bubbles that the chairs and carpet did not break. 14. She had a horror he would die at night, and sometimes, when the light began to fade, she could not keep from noticing how white the birches looked, and then she would be afraid even with a lamp to go about the house and lock the windows. And as night wore on toward morning, if a dog howled or a mouse squeaked in the floor, long after it was gone her flesh would sit awry on her. By day she would forget somewhat, and it would seem a silly thing to go with just this dream and get a neighbor to come at night and stay. But it would strike her sometimes, making the tea, she had kept that kettle boiling all night long, for company. 15. There was upon the sill a pencil mark, vital with shadow when the sun stood still at noon, but now, because the day was dark, it was a pencil mark upon the sill. And the mute clock, maintaining ever the same dead moment, blank and vacant of itself, was a pink shepherdess, a picture frame, a shell marked souvenir there on the shelf, whence it occurred to her that he might be, the mainspring being broken in his mind, a clock himself, if one were so inclined, that stood at 20 minutes after 3. The reason being for this, it might be said, that things in death were neither clocks nor people, but only dead. 16. The doctor asked her what she wanted done with him, that could not lie there many days, and she was shocked to see how life goes on even after death in irritating ways, and mused how, if he had not died at all, 'twould have been easier. Then there need not be the stiff disorder of a funeral everywhere, and the hideous industry, and crowds of people calling her by name and questioning her she'd never seen before, but only watching by his bed once more, and sitting silent if a knocking came. She said at length, feeling the doctor's eyes, "I don't know what you do exactly when a person dies." 17. Gazing upon him now, severe and dead, it seemed a curious thing that she had lain beside him many a night in that cold bed, and that had been which would not be again. From his desirous body the great heat was gone at last, it seemed, and the taut nerves loosened for ever. Formally the sheet set forth for her to-day those heavy curves and lengths familiar as the bedroom door. She was at one that enters, sly and proud, to where her husband speaks before a crowd, and sees a man she never saw before, the man who eats her victuals at her side, small and absurd and hers, for once not hers, unclassified. End of section 3. Section 4 of Sonnets by Edna St. Vincent Millay. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Thomas Copeland. From Poems by Edna St. Vincent Millay, 1923. 1. Thou art not lovelier than lilacs, no, nor honeysuckle. Thou art not more fair than small white single poppies. I can bear thy beauty, though I bend before thee, though from left to right, not knowing where to go, I turn my troubled eyes, nor here nor there find any refuge from thee, yet I swear so has it been with mist, with moonlight, so. Like him who day by day unto his draught of delicate poison adds him one drop more, till he may drink unharmed the death of 10. Even so, inured to beauty, who have quaffed each hour more deeply than the hour before, I drink and live what has destroyed some men. 2. Time does not bring relief. You all have lied who told me time would ease me of my pain. I miss him in the weeping of the rain. I want him at the shrinking of the tide. The old snows melt from every mountain side, and last year's leaves are smoke in every lane. But last year's bitter loving must remain heaped on my heart, and my old thoughts abide. There are 100 places where I fear to go, so with his memory they brim, and entering with relief some quiet place where never fell his foot or shone his face, I say, there is no memory of him here, and so stand stricken, so remembering him. 3. Mindful of you, the sodden earth in spring, and all the flowers that in the springtime grow, and dusty roads, and thistles, and the slow rising of the round moon, all throats that sing the summer through, and each departing wing, and all the nests that the bared branches show, and all winds that in any weather blow, and all the storms that the 4 seasons bring. You go no more on your exultant feet up paths that only mist and morning knew, or watch the wind, or listen to the beat of a bird's wings too high in air to view. But you were something more than young and sweet and fair, and the long year remembers you. 4. Not in this chamber only at my birth, when the long hours of that mysterious night were over, and the morning was in sight, I cried, but in strange places, steppe and firth, I have not seen, through alien grief and mirth. And never shall one room contain me quite, who in so many rooms first saw the light, child of all mothers, native of the earth. So is no warmth for me at any fire to-day, when the world's fires burn so low. I kneel, spending my breath in vain desire, at that cold hearth which one time roared so strong, and straighten back in weariness, and long to gather up my little gods and go. 5. If I should learn in some quite casual way that you were gone, not to return again, read from the back page of a paper, say, held by a neighbor in a subway train, how at the corner of this avenue and such a street, so were the papers filled, a hurrying man, who happened to be you, at noon to-day had happened to be killed, I should not cry aloud, I could not cry aloud, or wring my hands in such a place. I should but watch the station lights rush by, with a more careful interest on my face, or raise my eyes and read with greater care where to store furs, and how to treat the hair. 6. Bluebeard. This door you might not open, and you did. So enter now, and see for what slight thing you are betrayed. Here is no treasure hid, no cauldron, no clear crystal mirroring the sought-for truth, no heads of women slain for greed like yours, no writhings of distress, but only what you see. Look at again. An empty room, cobwebbed and comfortless.
Yet this alone out of my life I kept unto myself, lest any know me quite. And you did so profane me when you crept unto the threshold of this room to night, that I must never more behold your face. This now is yours. I seek another place.
End of section 4. End of Sonnets by Edna St. Vincent Millay.